And we're back. It's an all new episode of News You Can Use, a podcast by PA Stands Up about Pennsylvania, people, power, and politics. I'm your host, Edwin, and I go by he, they pronouns, and I'm Director of Narrative Strategy at Pennsylvania Stands Up.
And I'm Hannah. Pronouns are they, she, and I'm the digital organizer here at PA Stands Up. Welcome back, everybody.
Collective deep breath for us all. Now let's dive into this news. In Louisiana v. Callais, a case about gerrymandering or deliberately splitting up and manipulating electoral district boundaries to grant one political party or group an unfair advantage over another, which happens along racial and economic lines most times. But I digress. Anyway, the Supreme Court established that mapmakers can create racially discriminatory districts, thus giving the GOP a partisan advantage in most places, or allowing them to protect their incumbents.
Let's be clear, a system that limits participation for some is not stable or accountable to anyone. Now, BIPOC communities have fewer tools to challenge being pushed out of political power because of this ruling. That makes our political system less representative of the full population of working people. This Supreme Court yet again reinforced that some communities, in this case white communities, have more influence over decisions while communities of color are consistently pushed to the margins.
And this impacts us all. The result is further division, instability, and unevenly distributed resources, worse policy decisions with less accountability, weakened public systems, and more limited opportunities for all working people. And just weeks ago, we saw federal agents raid the offices of the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, a 20-year organization that has been at the forefront of organizing communities who macro Republicans have tried to block from participating in elections. These communities are Black and Brown Ohioans, young people, disabled people, and people with low incomes. This is more than an attack on one organization. This is an attack on all of us, our freedoms to vote. But it doesn't have to be this way. And we're not backing down, we're gearing up.
That's right. While they've been busy trying to intimidate us and rig the rules, we've been organizing. At PA Stands Up, we're meeting the moment with clarity, and we know that our role as organizers is to do two things: slow the consolidation of authoritarianism while also building the power that we need to set the political agendas here in our communities.
And we've been doing just that. When a data center attempted to purchase 41 acres of borough owned land in Columbia, Pennsylvania, a critical area in HD 41, our members in Lancaster County turned on a dime to knock on hundreds of doors, phone bank, and create social media content that reached over 100,000 people to make sure residents knew that this critical borough council meeting was happening. And it worked. More than 500 people showed up and showed out to that meeting to say, unequivocally, no data centers in Columbia. After more than 4 hours of public comment, Columbia Borough Council voted unanimously against the data center developer's bid.
We met the moment when the Lehigh County controller floated a version of a wealth tax to help close the county's budget deficit, and the Realtor Association put out misleading information to rile up middle class Lehigh County residents. Our members in Lehigh County, a significant portion of CD7, leafleted and made calls to concerned residents, addressing the misinformation, turning people out to that public hearing, and inviting folks to our next Who Broke Pennsylvania's Economy political education session. This team of leaders is prepared to keep polarizing the public around holding billionaires like Jeffrey Yass and corporations accountable for paying their fair share and raising the revenue in Pennsylvania for the services that we need.
And we met the moment when, facing devastating cuts to Pennsylvania's budget, thanks to the disastrous One Big Beautiful Bill, where organizers and leaders met the state legislature, held research visits, lobby meetings, and public actions to demand new revenue for those who can afford it. And it's working. A few weeks ago, the Pennsylvania House passed our digital ad tax, which would make big tech pay their fair share for digital ads in Pennsylvania, just like everyone else who does business here. This bill passed just 2 days after we put pressure on our legislators at a mass action in Harrisburg with our payback partners to push our to push our tax billionaires fund PA agenda. But we know the work is far from finished. While we're clear that we cannot afford to simply prepare for a normal election, we will not lose sight of our long-term strategy. The work we're doing leading up to and through the election will set us up for years to come.
And not to sound dramatic, but America has to decide if she's going to keep walking down a path that puts the few over the many, a path that tries to separate us by our differences: race, gender, where we were born, who we love, what we believe, or if we're going to step into a new age together, a united front of working people against fascism.
And that's not just a slogan, that's a practice. As Pride Month and Juneteenth pass, I'm reminded that freedom is not a metaphor. It's something that people fight for, protect, and expand generation after generation. Because at the end of the day, the community we build is the only thing we have got.
And we have to keep that practice going, which brings us to today's interview. We're joined by Magnus and Saveda, two of Pennsylvania Stands Up Summer Fellows, specifically our Comms Fellows, who are helping to shape what's next for us.
Boom.
Love.
Ugh.
Which brings us to today's interview. We're joined by Magnus, our statewide Comms Summer Fellow, who's helping to shape what's next for us.
Hey, Magnus. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start with your pronouns, role/title, and what's your involvement with PASU?
Thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Magnus. I use they, he, and she pronouns as I identify as gender fluid. I have been a volunteer with the Lehigh Valley Stands Up chapter for a year, helping out with communications and our Troublemakers Cafe team. I'm also this summer's fellow for statewide communications.
So happy to have you on the team, Magnus. Can you tell us a little bit about where you call home and one thing about your community that helped to shape you?
I'm calling the Lehigh Valley my home these days. I currently reside in the Bethlehem area, and I am really involved with organizing arts events around the Bethlehem and Easton area. I really truly appreciate the community's commitment to uplifting arts and ensuring that everybody has access to arts regardless of age or socioeconomic status.
That's awesome, Magnus. Thank you. Earlier in the pod, we were talking about the wild time that is 2026. But question for you, like, what's it like being a brown queer organizer in 2026? And what are you navigating that people might not see?
Thank you for that question, Edwin. It is indeed a wild time in these streets. Being a brown queer organizer in 2026 is huge because I'm really big on saying existence is resistance, and
Mm,
I am here. I am queer. I am brown and loud, and no one's going to stop that. But some challenges that I navigate behind closed doors or just like not out in the public like that is the constant fear and anxiety that festers within me when I hear another fellow Hispanic person being brutalized or kidnapped, when I hear that another anti trans law gets passed, when I listen to just people's conversations in the streets when they think people aren't listening and the hateful things that they are saying about my fellow brown people, my fellow queer folk. It breaks my heart, but I try to keep a brave face so that those who look like me and act like me can see that this can still keep going. The fight has to keep happening.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Magnus. I know we were recently talking about how we hate the word ally and kind of honestly the concept of like ally. And we're talking about how important it is to be a co conspirator. And
Mhm.
I know that as a white person in organizing, I have to be actively anti racist to be a co conspirator and have those hard conversations with the people you're overhearing saying those things. Like, that is my responsibility. Like, one of my best friends, who's my roommate, a straight man, it's his responsibility, and he knows that, to talk to other straight people and be a co-conspirator, be with us and supporting us as queer people. That's what organizing is. That's what actually being an ally, but really a co-conspirator is. So thank you so much for sharing that. What made you apply to be a summer fellow? What pulled you in?
A couple things. As I mentioned, I've been a volunteer with the Lehigh Valley Stands Up chapter for a year, so that's how I initially heard about the fellowship. And it was honestly right up my alley. I had been wanting to continue expanding my skill set in communications and like give content to a broader audience that's definitely available on the statewide level versus regional. But also, and I'm going to be so real with y'all, compensation. It's a lot of work to put in for this fight, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be compensated for the work that I'm putting in. I have been struggling with maintaining stable income for the past 3 years. So, like, this is a pocket of relief in a time that's otherwise insanely chaotic.
100%. And I totally resonate with like, sometimes, your passions don't pay the bills, but it's nice when you're able to like have that combination of like, I'm still out here doing the good fight and I'm able to like maintain my lifestyle to some degree. So I'm like, hell yeah, more of this, please. We'd love to see it. Next question we have for you, Magnus, is in your opinion, what does it look like to build power without leaving people behind? Because, sometimes in certain spaces, we won't say what spaces, there are some folks who are like, we're going to leave them. They're weak. And here at PA Stands Up, we're like, we're not leaving anybody behind. We're going to meet people where they are. So, in your
Yeah,
opinion, what does that look like?
you kind of already touched on it. I'm really big on meeting people where they're at. What is the point of saying that we fight across race, place, and class if we're not meeting everybody in their race, place, and class? I have struggled growing up being like ostracized from like friend groups or just like projects in general because I'm too different. And that really informs my work and my opportunity to connect with my community and bring them along with me at the capacity that they can meet. I'm not going to assume that everybody and their mother can go canvassing or lead a protest speech or even phone bank, Like there are different skills that exist in different people and we should play to people's strengths.
Oof, chills. I love that.
I love that you said that, Magnus, because like there really is a place for everybody. And, you know, just because somebody doesn't come in with the skills maybe to speak at a protest or yeah, like, or organized canvassing or something like that, doesn't mean that they can't learn. Like, that's the beauty of what we do, being able to share those skills and work with each other's capacity so we can trust that what we need to do, we actually do. There's obviously a reason why all of us have gotten involved in organizing in the first place. So, for you, what issue or story made you say, I can't sit this out? Like, I need to be part of the solution?
There's a number of things that I can choose from, but I think what's really resonating with me currently is our current housing affordability crisis. I've been part of this grassroots works for a while, but I'm taking the next steps to address our state and our nation's affordability crisis when it comes to housing. I will be joining several other members of Pennsylvania Stands Up in Harrisburg next Sunday and Monday, the 28th and 29th, for our Housing for All campaign, where we will be demanding that our senators put forth legislative solutions that will actually address the issues that created the affordability crisis in the first place and maintain affordable housing. And, like, I'm digging into that a lot more now because, like, I have my own experience with housing insecurity and I'm surrounded by it, past and present. And it is just breaking my heart to constantly feel like shit. So I want to do something. And I feel like this is going to be a good first step.
I totally feel that, Magnus. And I have a follow-up question for you as well. You said this is like one of the first steps, but I'm curious of like on your journey through organizing stuff, like what was your on-ramp to getting involved? And it doesn't necessarily have to be with PA Stands Up either.
Yeah, my start was definitely not with Pennsylvania Stands Up. Let's look back at Magnus 8 years ago,
Mhm.
2018, midterm elections. I was approached by someone who ended up being my mentor in regards to fighting for pro choice candidates. I don't have personal experience with like abortion, but I believe that everybody should have access to abortion if they need it and if they want it. Because what happens to somebody's body is none of my business. And likewise, and I am tired of white men in bow ties deciding what happens with my uterus. Like, if you don't have one, don't talk about it. Sorry, a little passionate, but that's what
We love
like
it.
drove me to want to volunteer. That and also I had a lot of unstructured free time in my young adult years. Why not fill it with volunteering and like fulfilling a purpose bigger than, I don't know, hanging out with friends?
We love that. Hanging out with friends is cool, but also like organizing with your friends is even cooler. So we love to see that. All right. We ask everyone who comes on a pod, what's one thing, friend, that's bringing you joy or bringing you hope?
I want to say what's bringing me hope is seeing my fellow community members collectively come together to fight for a better future for ourselves. I'm seeing it across so many different efforts, but I'm seeing it the most in the Lehigh Valley's fight against AI data centers. I absolutely love knowing that across the board, no matter which party you're in or like your most of the time socioeconomic class, people don't want AI data centers in their community because the cons far outweigh whatever pros they can bring to our table. And I'm so happy that these discussions are being made out in the open and like connecting with like people that normally wouldn't even be part of the conversation. And if people aren't aware of what AI data centers are or like what their detriments are, they can very easily learn because of how everybody is talking about it.
Oh, I love that so much. We love it when the communities are talking and you know your neighbors and be like, hey, did you know they're going to be building this data center down on Lancaster or like up in the Lehigh Valley where you are? It's just like anyone and everyone that I've had this conversation with immediately is like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any type of sense. Especially when we get to the nitty gritty about the pollution and just like the surveillance of it all. But I digress. uh, I was like, I could be here all day talking about that. But
I same.
I was like, next episode we'll figure this out, or like a bonus episode or something. But same question for you, Han. What's bringing you hope lately?
So many things, which like sounds crazy, honestly, but this summer fellowship, honestly, is bringing me a lot of hope right now. Like having folks of so many different ages and areas in Pennsylvania who are excited and like want to get out there and want to do the work and want to talk to their neighbors and are able to take the time, and we're able to compensate them so that they can take the time to learn so many organizing skills so quickly and then bring that back to their communities and build more power. Like how honestly, like how lucky are we that we get to do that? And it gives me a lot of hope that I get to coach Magnus through it and like, yeah, sharpen my own skills so we can keep doing this and keep training leaders to get the work done that we need to get done to beat fascism. And I know that we can do it when we get enough people on board. So I'm feeling super excited and hopeful about that. But Edwin, what about you? What's bringing you hope right now?
I'm like, now y'all taking my answers. Um, but I'm also feeling very, very, I don't know, some folks know at the beginning of the year, I had like a near death experience where I was like hospitalized for a while. And now we're back. We're back outside. It's warm. And I'm out here talking to my neighbors and just learning so much about my community. And it's just bringing me joy just to see people that have lived next door to each other for probably like a decade or so. And like, we've never actually had a conversation, but through me knocking doors on my neighborhood or like just being like, hey, we're having a cookout at Mill Hill Park or something, come down and do something. People are getting together and having conversations and making plans to like continue organizing within our community to win stuff that we need. So that's just bringing me a lot of joy. I've had a lot of life resets in the past situation, months. Um, but it's really bringing me joy to see folks like Madness coming out and being like, yo, I want to get in on this organizing situation and like let's build real power in Pennsylvania. And seeing folks lobby for the first time and like run up to their senators because they know who their senators are now and be like, hey, I have a bone to pick with you. And the senators being like, oh, okay. And then as soon as they hear where they're coming from, they're like, oh, PA stands up. Yes, we know about you guys and we want to work with you. So that brings me some deep seated, like, all the feels in my heart. So I'll leave with that before I get all mushy and stuff of just like, yeah, people learning about their communities, organizing, having fun outside with each other this summer. It's a beautiful thing.
If I may, I'd love to
Mhm.
just add a little closing statement of how I'm feeling so far during this fellowship. It's
Hell yeah.
week 4 out of 12, and I have already learned and applied so many skills. I've been able to
Awesome.
participate in um, communications projects and get to connect with people I would have never met otherwise. I'm very grateful to Hannah as my coach. They have been generous and gentle in the approach with me, but not in a way where like I'm going to stray. We're keeping each other accountable. And I think that that is the biggest takeaway from this fellowship. I really appreciate all that you do.
Why am I literally gonna cry on the pod? Not the first time, not the last time, but that's so great to hear, and I'm so glad that, like, we're a third of the way through and you're already taking so much from this. I can't wait to see how you keep applying all of these skills that you're learning, and I'm so, so glad that you could come on the pod with us and get to have this new experience as our comms fellow. So thank you for being here, Magnus. It's been such a fun time to get to work together so much more so far. So really excited to keep it going.
I fully agree. And thank y'all for having me as a guest today.
Thank you again to Magnus for joining us. That's it for this month's news you can use. I hope you enjoyed our show. Please follow us and share it with your friends and with your enemies. And be sure to come back next month to hear about all things Pennsylvania, people, power, and politics. Until then, I'm your host, Edwin. And don't forget, Pennsylvania is for all of us. We'll see you in the streets.
This episode of News You Can Use was produced by Director of Narrative Strategy, Edwin Stubbs, Digital Organizer, Hannah Hemmershawn, and PSU Comms members, Brianne and Allburn. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, please email us at comms@pastandsup.org.